Hey, it's Martin here, and I want to share with you something amazing that happened in the last 4 months. Megan, my one-on-one client, went from A1Cs of 6.5 to 5.8. She's obtaining more stability on her sugar levels, less sugar level fluctuations. She's obtaining more control, more confidence over her diabetes, and I figured it would be a good idea to interview her, kind of jump into her type 1 diabetes journey so she can share what's been helping her and giving her results. And her story is inspiring because she's been living with type 1 diabetes since she was 3 years old. So to her, it's her normal, and her story is very unique. So make sure you watch the full video and kind of hear what she has to say in her point of view with type 1 diabetes. And I'm sure if you pay attention, there's some very good keys that will help you in your journey with type 1 diabetes. So hope you enjoy, and remember, you are not alone. So are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. So this is actually going to be pretty exciting because we're gonna walk through your whole journey since we first started working together, and also even before when we first started working together. I want to go kind of through your whole life with type 1 diabetes and what you've been going through, because I feel like you have a very good story, very touching story that can help a lot of people. Now, one of the things that I know a lot is that you're a hard-working girl. You work a lot of hours. Okay,
Yeah.
you're a very busy girl. So let's kind of take it a step back. So when were you diagnosed? How has your life been since you were younger, teenage years, kind of going through, and then we're gonna get to more present moments. So kind of walk me through it.
Let's see. I was diagnosed at the age of 3 in 97.
Wow.
Well, right before my third birthday, actually.
Wow.
So I spent my third birthday in the hospital.
Wow.
And I grew up really, my parents didn't really hold anything back from me except cotton candy. Everything in moderation.
Crazy
And I
spikes with the cotton
huh?
candy. It crazy
Yeah,
sugar level spikes, right, with the cotton candy.
yeah, they never let me have that. But everything was in moderation, and I learned a lot of things from just by watching my parents
Okay.
take care of me when I was younger. And actually did have a lot of good doctors when I was younger, like very good endos up until I was in like 5th grade.
And then,
and then things like started going downhill from there. But
yeah.
but I guess I like rebelled when I was a teenager. I like didn't take care of myself. I would like when I was at my friend's house, I would be like sneaking candy and wouldn't get myself in some for it. And then be like, I don't know why I'm 300.
Oh man,
I don't know.
I'm so happy in a way that I didn't have to deal with diabetes when I was a teenager, because I went through my own teenage years of just completely rebellious and trying to figure myself with my identity and stuff. Nothing to do with diabetes, but I can only imagine how difficult it is to actually manage diabetes when you're young, when you're a kid, when you're a teenager. When you're going through these phases in life. Now, talk to me a little bit about your present moment now. Like, what's been going on with work? How old are you? Yeah, tell us a little bit about what you're doing and everything.
Well, I'm 27 and working as a caregiver at an assisted living facility, working anywhere between like 80 hours and 120 hours. It varies.
Okay, wait, before you continue explaining your job, I just want to talk to you about the hours that you put in. So you said 80 hours to 120, and that is in one work week or
two.
Okay, 2 work weeks. Okay.
Two.
So you're definitely doing at least 40 hours in a week and more. With the 120, that's a lot. Yeah, and I know that your work, from working together for a little bit now, your work is very intense, stressful, overwhelming. You have to deal with a lot of stuff. You have to deal with craziness going on at your job. It's very high pace, right? High speed.
Yeah. Yes, it is. Um, what was the second part of that question?
No, there wasn't. Just to explain
There wasn't.
a little bit about your job, but it's for the most part
Oh,
it's intense, right? Give us a little
yes.
walkthrough about what a day looks like in
Um,
Megan.
well, um,
What time do you wake up? Let's start with there.
so if I go into work at 6, I wake up at like about 4:15. If I go in at 7, I'll wake up at about 5:15.
Yeah, that's
And then I'll leave work around like 3:15, 3:30, sometimes 4, sometimes 7.
Mhm.
Um,
And you're
and
just constantly running around, right? You just constantly doing
most
stuff for patients, right?
most of the time, if I'm working on the assisted side of my facility.
Okay.
But the memory care side, there's some, downtime. Not a whole lot, but there is some downtime. But on the assisted side, it's like go, go, go all the time.
Yes.
I don't really sit down.
It's a stressful, high intensity environment, right?
Yes.
Now let's talk a little bit about diabetes management and how you were doing with diabetes before we started working together. Okay, let's kind of give me. I remember the first conversation that we had. It was that you were having these random highs in the morning. You were like,
Right.
I can't explain these. Well, before I even go into that, just tell me a little bit about how it was with sugar level fluctuations before we started really getting into it.
So before we started, it was just like I was having like roller coasters, like crazy. Um, and I would have good days where it was perfectly fine, and that would be for like 3 or 4 days, and then I'd have another 3 or 4 days of roller coasters where I'd be like in the 250s, and then back down to like 50, and then back up to like 200, and then 70, and then it was just like it was too much, and I was just exhausted all the time. But since I started working with you, I've learned to control so much better.
Yeah, so we'll get into that. We'll get into that. Before we even get to like what we've done, how we're controlling, I just kind of want to emphasize because there's a lot of people out there that are going through what you've been through in the beginning with those annoying sugar level fluctuations where you're just shoom, 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 and you're constantly overwhelmed because now I remember you were working, so it's a high. Let's take it back a little bit. It's a high intensity job, so you're constantly running around. One of the things was fears of lows. You know, we were worried about going low through work. Another thing was just the overwhelming and the pressure that you were getting from just the outside, and then in a way that was kind of interfering with diabetes, and everything was kind of all over the place. So it was in a way you were in a place where I feel like a lot of type 1 diabetics are. And that's what I wanted to talk about. Now, talk to me a little bit about your mindset. Where was your mindset before we even started working together?
I was like, I just didn't know what to do anymore. Like even though being a top 1 for 23 years, like I was at a place where I just didn't know like how to fix certain things. Even though like I do know how to fix like my basal settings and when the bolus, when I'm high and all that, like it was just like it wouldn't fix the problems. So I didn't know like how to get in the place that I wanted to get to.
Exactly.
So
and what was the A1C that when we first started working together?
6.5.
So it was like 6.5. Yeah, I remember that you were kind of in a plateau between 6.5 and 7.0, right? That you before
it was like constantly 6.5, 6.6.
Yeah.
I think it reached like 6.7, but that's been a while since it was at like 6.7.
Okay, good. Okay, good. Now and then things started getting really good. Things started getting clear. Things started making more sense. And then I remember one of the most interesting things was that in the beginning, it was just a lot of confusion. That was the most important thing is like we were kind of trying to put a language to your diabetes, and it was a lot of why are these things happening? What's going on? Am I having a spike here, a low here? And it was a lot of like just what's going on. So I remember when we first started working together, we kind of started putting language to it, making things make a lot of sense. But I don't want to explain it. I want to kind of you to explain it a little bit of what you feel was like the first things that we started working together with that gave you results. But before you even say that, what have been your last A1C in your control now?
My last one that I got was 5.7.
5.7. Nice.
Yes.
Amazing.
Yes.
That's awesome. So you went from 6.5 around the 6.5 area to now 5.7. That's non-diabetic. That's like pre-diabetic sugar level ranges, which is not, if you have a normal working pancreas at 5.7, you're good. The doctor says
5.8. I'm sorry.
5.8. 5.8, 5.7. Right there. You're in that range. Now let's kind of talk to what we have been doing. Okay, so from 6.5, what do you think has helped you get to that 5.8, 5.7 range A1Cs? Because now you're doing much better too. Like I feel like your next A1C that's gonna come up, it's gonna be lower than 5.8 from what we've been doing.
It is too.
All right, so let's talk about the strategy. What has been like the breakthroughs? Let's kind of walk through it.
Constantly tracking everything that I do or don't do. And probably watching what I eat.
Okay, good. So let's start with those two things. Those two little things that most people, like most type 1 diabetics, kind of like, oh well, I don't really do that. So tracking and watching what you eat. So we'll start with first tracking. Okay, how do you feel like tracking actually helped you?
Because I can see the patterns of what's happening.
Okay, so you're understanding. Okay, this is why I say about tracking is so crucial, that when you track, you build awareness. You build intuition over your own diabetes, your own body, because you're literally seeing what's going on with your body after you eat this, after you eat that, and you kind of can build a language to it. So tracking for you was a good way for you to kind of start being able to problem solve, right, and see what's going on. Now, the next thing you said is watching what you eat. Now, this is very interesting, okay? We're going to get into the topic of nutrition between you and me, because you're one of the best at controlling sugar levels, I want to say. Like, you become so good at it that you can literally eat whatever you want and get away with it, and I hate it. Talk to me a little bit, and talk to me about how you eat and what kind of things that you eat and how you manage them.
Well, being a top 1 for so long, you kind of learn like the carbs and the fats and the proteins and pretty much everything that you eat, especially when you love it. Like I could like this, I could pretty much know what to give myself, but I'm not going to because I'm low.
There you go. Yeah, different factors. Yeah.
But I mean, most things that I eat, drink, I do it routinely, so I know like just what it is, just off the top of my head. And that's just because I do it all the time. And I input like the fats and the proteins, add it all in there.
Yeah. So it's, and now that helped more though with the tracking, right? Because before you've been eating this whatever pretty much you wanted through how long? 24 years, right? So what made a difference now from the months that we've been working together from all those times? Because you did something, you've been doing stuff that's been making more sense. Things have been making more, your calculations are beginning more on point, right? Yeah, and that's,
I'm definitely paying attention to like a closer look at like looking at my CGM. I'm like, if it's starting to go up, I'm like, oh, I should probably fix that. So I'll fix it like quicker.
Yeah, so being more alert. Now, one of the things that I seen with you that it kind of blows my mind, how you're able to pretty much get away with eating the carbs that I personally wouldn't eat. I'm way more low carb, and I always tell you, eat carbs lower on glycemic index, but you're someone that you can manage it with. You have a pump, you do extended bolas, you pretty much eat bread, right? You eat, what are the things that I hate when you eat that you manage well?
I eat Chick-fil-A all the time and manage it perfectly.
Perfectly. So you
Perfectly.
mastered Chick-fil-A, and like by the way, like I'm a big, eat good food, good nutritious whole food. So every time you would eat Chick-fil-A, I'm like, oh, I wish she didn't manage it so well, so she doesn't eat that all the time. But it just goes to show that you can really go, if you really understand your body, you can really like eat what the things that you want to eat, but you have to be really good at managing. Now
Right.
you are really, really well good at managing. I remember in the beginning, it was like I said, it was a lot of confusion. We started tracking, we started putting things, making it more sense. Then we started working on nutrition, and although we're still working on the nutrition, you've
Mhm.
way better at just managing overall and understanding. Okay, I'm at this level. What do I need to do to get me back in range, in a good range? And for the most part, you're doing a really good job at that. Now, if you would have to give an advice for someone that's going through this journey of diabetes, that they're in that plateau, because there's a lot of people that stay in that plateau of like the 7.0, 6.5 plateau. What do you recommend for them to break through that plateau? What should they do that would help?
Absolutely start tracking if you're not.
Good.
I didn't, like I said, I never did until I started working with you,
Good.
and it helps. It really does, and see what works and what doesn't work.
Good. So the tracking is a big one. Anything else? Anything else that you feel like any mindset? Let's talk about mindset. I feel like the mindset had such a big role when we worked on us. I remember sometimes some days were very overwhelming. I remember like with work and other personal things. How does mindset play a big role in all this?
Um, don't let it like overpower your mind. If that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Like it's gonna be okay. Like, I mean, it's gonna get. I mean, it's just, if you're having a bad day, it's just a bad day. It's just,
yeah. So
wake up the next day and
yeah, the consistency for the most part, I saw that. And it was interesting because something that I realized with you and most of the clients that I work with is that when they're not having, when they're having a lot of pressure and everything around them, maybe it's not just that we're dealing with type 1 diabetes, it's everyday life. And when there's a lot of things going on in our surroundings that may be kind of taking our focus out of our health, it can make diabetes extra overwhelming because we're dealing with a ton of things, and on top of that our sugar levels may be all over the place, and that may be an idea for us to just throw our hands up in the air and say, you know what, well, I don't want to deal with this, I don't want to do this. But through your persistence and your consistency, because I remember you did have some moments like that, but again, we work it out, we talk about it, we kind of reevaluate what's the most important things here. And it just makes me happy that you continued going through despite the hardships, despite the crazy hours that you put in your work, that you continued. And now look at the results that you're dealing with. You have way more stable sugar levels, right? You have way more control. Now, how is it between since you first started to where you are now? What's the difference between sugar levels and just your overall life with type 1 diabetes?
I'm like, I actually have a lot more energy than I've ever had. Like, I'm not kidding.
Really? Nice.
Well, yeah. I mean, here the past few days I've had more coffee because, life. But I haven't been drinking as much coffee as I usually do.
Nice.
Because I'm actually like energized.
Good. So you feel good. You feel good energy wise. Energy's going good. Anything else?
Yeah. It's actually making me more motivated to go to the gym.
Good.
Because when my sugars are kind of crappy, I don't really want to go because I'm like I just want to go to bed.
So the next goal is going to be for us to hit the low fives. That's what I'm striving for, because I strongly believe that you can achieve that just by continuing doing what we were doing and what we are doing, which is pretty much working through this together, looking at sugar levels together, going through the motions, when you're having maybe a stressful time, just going through those moments, because everything is constantly interfering with our diabetes, and taking it day by day, like you were saying. And I think what's going to give us the most breakthrough will be tweaking a little bit more of the nutrition, and also just adding a little bit more exercise. And like I said, if you would ask any type 1 diabetic, you're at a 5.8, they'll be very, very happy. But why stop there, right? And I finally remember what I was going to say. Do you believe that everything you have learned, or everything you have been working on for this last couple months that we've been together, do you feel like it's always going to stick with you? Do you feel like it's just stuff that you've understood with your body, and that you're going to be able to carry on and just continue improving? Or is it just like, that's it, it's, I don't, it's, yeah, explain.
I think it'll stick.
I think so too.
It should.
You can't go backwards, right?
Right.
I feel like it's kind of if you do the right foundation, it's kind of hard to backtrack, because you already know certain principles that you must do. So
Right.
in a point, I can't wait for that, because now we're just kind of going through the moments, and if we continue with the consistency that we are now, things are just going to get better and better and better and better and better. And that's what we're striving for, is to get those sugar levels the same as someone with a working pancreas, and as normal as possible. And that's pretty much it. I feel like we shared a couple of your story, your strategy, and I think it's going to help a lot of people too. Now, final last words. Say something. I don't know. Inspire someone. Say you can do it, or whatever.
Don't ever give up.
Don't ever give up. Good.
Don't ever give up.
Good. I like that. And
Keep going.
Keep going. Never give up. Keep going. And I think life gets better when you make a decision where you're going to improve no matter what, right? I appreciate you watching the full video, and I just wanted to tell you that you don't have to do this alone. If you want to join a type 1 diabetes community on Facebook, click the link on the description below. And this is how I actually met Megan, through this group. And again, I'm more involved in that community, and the point of that community is to be surrounded by like-minded people who want to improve their overall health with type 1 diabetes, how they manage it, not just physically, but also mentally. And I throw in some spiritual stuff in there as well. I give it my all. I want that group to be a place where type 1 diabetics can come and learn more about type 1 diabetes, and live a better life, more optimistic way of life. So if you want to join that community, make sure you click the link on the description below, and it will take you to that Facebook group. So yeah, hope to see you there.